update course. I will start with the JPS. So the Ministry of Energy, Transport and Telecommunications continue to make significant progress across its portfolio, with agency meetings and in many instances exceeding their strategic targets. Across every sector, our focus remains steadfast, delivering efficient public services, strengthening national infrastructure, embracing innovation, and improving the quality of life of every Jamaican. Today, I'm pleased to provide updates on several key areas. JPS, as directed, the Jamaica Public Service has submitted its technical findings and investigative report to both the Ministry and the Office of Utilities Regulation regarding the Oil Island electricity outage of June 5, 2026. This submission was made within the prescribed regulatory timeline. Thank you. Yeah, that sounds better now. Thank you. Sorry. Recognizing the national importance of this matter, the government has adopted an interministerial approach to the technical assessment of the reports. Subject matter experts are undertaking a comprehensive review to determine the root cause, evaluate the adequacy of the existing systems, and identify any corrective actions necessary to strengthen the resilience of Jamaica's electricity network. I do see in the report that the JPS did things a bit differently this time, on this occasion, by bringing in 3 international consultants in different areas to assess this situation with the blackout. They brought in teams from Mitsubishi Electric Power Products, who conducted a steady state and transit stability analysis review of the system. Danavo Energy Solutions, formerly Quantum Services, did the root cause analysis, and Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories and General Electric both conducted a performance analysis and review of the protective devices. So this is in fact a difference in terms of how they have approached it and who they have gotten, because they have gotten top-class companies with worldwide reputations. So the government remains committed, obviously, to transparency, accountability, and evidence-based decision-making. Once this review has been completed, the findings, recommendations, and any required actions will be communicated to the Jamaican people. I expect that JPS will also make a statement in short order. Reliable electricity remains fundamental to national development, economic growth, and public confidence, and we will continue to work to ensure that Jamaica's energy sector delivers the level of resilience our citizens deserve. So, in a passing comment, I would say that I'm heartened to see the steps that they have taken this time in terms of the quality of the expertise, and I am sure that it is at a significant cost. So we will continue and keep the country apprised. Island Traffic Authority. First of all, let me do some administrative housekeeping by, first of all, formally advising that the former Director General, Colonel Daniel Price, resigned effective June 30th. We have Lieutenant Colonel Sheldon Bryan, who has been seconded from the Jamaica Defense Force with the permission of the Chief of Defense Staff and, of course, the Permanent Secretary, who will start on September 1st. Mr. Bryan, or should I say Lieutenant Colonel Bryan, brings good leadership skills, operational discipline, technological competence, and governance experience required to lead the ITA through the next phase of its development. He is going to be tasked as immediately to continue to work on the implementation of the new demerit point system, which I'm going to speak on shortly, and of course, modernization of the ITA, and last but not least, to get the Black River examination depot back up and running within the first 30 to 45 days. So, when I announced the operationalization of the Road Traffic Act's demerit point regime, I made it very clear that the government's objective was to fully implement the law as Parliament intended. At the same time, we recognized that implementation had to be practical, fair, and orderly, given the significant backlog of outstanding traffic matters that accumulated while the administrative regime was not operational. Our consultations with the Chief Justice and the judiciary have reinforced that the successful implementation of the demerit point regime is intrinsically linked to resolving this backlog. And for those of you who don't remember, it's in excess of 1.1 million tickets that are outstanding. Several operational realities have been identified: the significant volume of unresolved traffic cases, the availability of judicial and administrative resources, the limited physical capacity of courts, and the legal requirement that traffic matters generally be heard within the parish where the offense occurred. These factors mean that the backlog cannot simply be redistributed to courts elsewhere in the island. That said, the government remains fully respectful of the constitutional independence of the judiciary. While consideration was given to members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force providing administrative support, the judiciary advised that any such support would remain under the management and direction of the courts, therefore thereby preserving judicial independence. So that was really to get more personnel to assist in getting the backlog dealt with, which, as I've said, is not practical because it's in the hands of the judiciary and it's only court administrative staff that can handle the administrative aspect. So accordingly, our approach will be twofold. Operationally, we'll continue working with the judiciary to explore additional judicial resources, increase administrative support, expanded traffic court capacity, extended court sitting where practical. Simultaneously, consideration is being given to carefully crafted transitional legislative amendments that would provide a fair, transparent, and lawful framework for addressing qualifying legacy matters while preserving the integrity of the Road Traffic Act. These proposals will only proceed following broad stakeholder consultation with full respect for the constitutional role of the judiciary. Our objective remains unchanged. That is, to establish an effective, modern, and sustainable road traffic enforcement system that enhances compliance, saves lives, and improves road safety for all Jamaicans. All key stakeholders, which include the Ministry of Energy, Transport, Telecommunications, Ministry of Justice, the Court Administration Division, the Ministry of National Security, Jamaica Constabulary Force, Island Traffic Authority, and the Jamaica Information and Communication Technology Authority, will continue to work collaboratively towards delivering a comprehensive solution ahead of the planned October 1st, 2026 milestone. Let me pause there to indicate that based on the discussions held so far, it is a tall order to be able to deal with these matters with the system that we now have in place, the legislation and the Road Traffic Act and regulations. And therefore, it is this stakeholder group that is going to navigate now to come up with a practical solution. So what we have is something that's in theory, sounds good, but you know I talk straight. it's almost impossible, if not impossible, to do what needs to be done in the time that it needs to be done with the resources that are available. So if we were to have a dedicated location for court every day, similar to what we did at the arena, even that, I can't put a timeline. That cost for those 2 days to the Court Administration Division, Ministry of Justice, alone was $28 million. So it's both unaffordable and unattainable. My commitment, therefore, is to fix the existing legacy issues. Fix the demerit system. Once this is done and the new demerit system takes effect, there will be a zero-tolerance approach. While the government of Jamaica may consider options including an amnesty for outstanding traffic ticket fines, that would not apply to suspension of driver's license under the new demerit point system. The objective of the new demerit point system is to reduce fatalities through safer and more responsible use of our roads, and essentially to save lives and limbs. It cannot be that what obtains on the roads today go without any sanctions, and those sanctions must include demerit points that take persons off of roads to allow for safer roads for those who use our roads. So again, all sorts of propaganda all over the place. I just saw something before I came in here a while ago about some September no movement day because of the demerit system, etc. I'm not that guy. That doesn't frighten me. We're going to do what we need to do and do it properly and justly and equitably. But one thing that is zero tolerance will be the enforcement of the demerit points in whatever we come up with. October 1st is that projected date. If anything changes, you will be the first to know. But I'm not going to implement something that is not foolproof, holistically done, to allow for finally, once and for all, to put the Road Traffic Act and the demerit point system in tandem to have what other jurisdictions operate on and do so successfully. So I thought it important to just indicate that because there's a lot of miscommunication, misinformation, and dishonesty that is taking place for whatever reason. Bottom line is, we will keep you posted. This team has been tasked to work day and night so that as Parliament opens September morning, we can go to Parliament, do what we need to do so October 1st can be achieved. Until such time as another date, if that happens, October 1st is still, despite the fact that we know that what we are doing now will not take us to the promised land. We are working to find something that will do so. My favorite now is the Rural School Bus Program, a national success story. I was so pleased when I read The Observer yesterday and got the comments from the principals and the users and the parents. And it was heartening because we know what it means to rural folks to have a safe transportation system designated and dedicated for school children. So one of the government's most impactful investments continues to be the Rural School Bus Program. Launched in September 2025, the program has evolved into one of Jamaica's most successful public transportation initiatives, addressing long-standing challenges of affordability, accessibility, and student safety. The program's first-year performance demonstrates exceptional success. As was said, Approximately 349 schools benefit from the program, 86 dedicated bus routes, approximately 90 buses are dispatched every day, sorry, and more than 16,000 students' trips are facilitated daily. Approximately 8,000 students are transported safely to and from school. Operational performance has also been outstanding. Each month, the fleet travels more than 228,000 kilometers, consuming approximately 77,700 liters of fuel, while maintaining scheduled maintenance compliance, 100% GPS monitoring compliance, 100% driver training compliance, and approximately 90 trained professional drivers operating daily. Most importantly, since the program's launch, there has been no incidents involving serious injury to students using this service. I want to repeat that. There has been no lives lost or no serious injuries for students who use school bus, and that is in 1 year of operation. You know what that tells you? God don't sleep. He doesn't sleep. Because the fact of the matter is that was one of the major reasons for the implementation of this program. And the fact that there have been accidents, thankfully, there have not been serious accidents that would cause any loss of life or limb to our children. On top of which, I want to reiterate again, these are purpose-built buses. They're not just an ordinary bus. So they are built with a protection mechanism for safety for these children. And for those of you who have seen posted 1 or 2 times the accidents that have taken place, you see the destruction of the other car, and you see a dent or a scrape on the buses. And that is just proof of the purpose-built buses that they are. Customer satisfaction has exceeded operations. Parent and student satisfaction currently stands at 100%, significantly surpassing the original performance target of 85%. School attendance among participating communities have improved by 95%, while public support still continues to grow. This initiative has become a model of effective public policy, improving educational access, reducing transportation costs for families, and strengthening rural communities and ensuring that every child has a safe, reliable, dignified journey to school. So again, we are now moving into phase 2 of the rural school bus. We had intended to do another 100 buses for this financial year. We are still in discussions with the Ministry of Finance based on budgetary constraints, based on Melissa, but I know that it is a priority for the Cabinet, and I know it's a priority for all my colleague ministers and members of Parliament on both sides of the House. One more administrative matter, and that is the announcement of the appointment of Mr. Danville Walker as General Manager of Petrojam, effective July 1st, 2026. Mr. Telroy Morgan, who resigned recently and is undergoing some health challenges. We wish him well and keep him in our prayers, and most importantly, look forward to working with Mr. Walker. This matter was raised yesterday in Parliament in question and answers by the opposition in terms of possible conflict of interest, as Mr. Walker did work with a petroleum company previously. I want to make it clear that that matter in terms of the employment is an administrative matter dealt with by the board of the Petrojam. Neither the minister or the ministry gets involved in that process. And in my usual style, I reinforce to the board to follow every step by step, to make sure that there's full transparency and accountability when and if the question is asked, which it has already been asked. So I want to make that very clear and to say to you, the Jamaican people, that we will continue to work at this ministry under the leadership of the new permanent secretary to continue to improve the lives and livelihood of the Jamaican people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister.
I might as well stay for the question, right?
No, I was going to do a couple updates
Oh,
and then
okay.
both of us take questions together. All right, thank you very much, Minister Vaz, as usual. A lot of updates. Of course, the one that I am most interested in is the school bus one, because that has really been very impactful across the system. There was a study that was done by the World Bank a few years ago that was looking at the safety of our children. They asked our children across Jamaica when they felt safest and when they felt least safe. And it was on the road that they felt least safe, going to and from school on the road. And so the school bus program is very much rooted in even the cry of our own children. They've said that they needed this, and the government through Minister Vaz, and I know some support from our ministry also, has done this. And so I'm so very happy, Minister Vaz, and you've been the big champion for this, and I congratulate you on that. And you heard about the demerit system to come in place and all the issues there. Minister Vaz is working through it. You're going to get more details. You will not be disadvantaged. There are so many untruths going around online. Please listen to official communication. What Minister Vaz has just said, what the Ministry of Information or GIS may put out, listen to real sources. There are a lot of people, for whatever reason, mainly to create mayhem, are putting out information that's not true. And we really have to stop sharing that. What I want to go viral is what Minister Vaz has just said, or what GIS has put out. We are going to fix it. We're going to figure it out. What is in place now is not practical, and Minister Vaz has said that. And he's a man of his word. He is going to come back by September early with a path forward. Then you can talk about that. So there's nothing for you to speak about right now. He's going to come back to you. All right, I'm just going to give you some quick updates on the education area, and there's a very important one in relation to the funding of our schools. And we're very happy, and I have to congratulate the ministry team, starting with the permanent secretary and our finance team and our strategy team, because we have increased the funding to all public schools this year. And that's a very big deal for us. It meant moving our own budget to prioritize this area. And this should be noted for all of Jamaica. On average, every public school is getting 55% more funding from the Ministry of Education. That's a significant increase, and you'll see the increase is actually higher for primary schools and special needs institutions. We say we're going to do something and we do it. We've said early childhood is a priority, and that is the reason why we have prioritized those schools. So what we've done is we had a lot of little grants, and it was hard for us to really say how much money does a school get to do it for its operational expenses. So we had an ICT grant, we had a STEAM grant, we had a maintenance grant, we had a social premium grant, and you also have your regular and tuition grants. So what we've done is to consolidate all those grants into one operational grant and then increase it on top of it. And again, the largest increase is not for, the big school at the top and the high schools, it's for the bottom. So we've prioritized the increase for the primary schools and the special needs schools. But every public institution has received an increase. but the quantum is different. So at the bottom, it is a bigger increase. And I think the schools are actually quite happy about it. They haven't said it publicly, so I asked the media to go ask them about it. And the reality is, at the ministry, we're going to keep trying to see how we can move our own budget, to see how much we can keep increasing it. But this is a significant increase that has been done, and I'm going to give you a little bit more detail in relation to some of how they can use this funding. Trying to get to it to tell you. So we give them one operational grant, and they have flexibility now in relation to how they can use it. So 25% of the amount given should be used towards administration, and they can work around that. Repair and maintenance is 20% of the grant. There is also learning environment, so the teaching and learning element, so getting material in for teaching and learning or working on new initiatives around teaching and learning, that's 30% of the grant can be used on that. And then on STEAM and TVET, it's 15%, and then on student welfare, it's 10% of the grant. And so the school can use the grants, but within those basic categories. I should note that the grants have already started going out. Every public school in the second week of June would have gotten their first tranche, and the first tranche is 30%. So this increase is not something that I'm saying is going to come in a fictitious future. It has already started. So the first tranche went out in the second week in June, and then the second tranche goes out the first week in September, and then the final tranche goes out in December. The third tranche goes out in December. So they get 30% in June, 15% in September, and 20% in December. What that means is that 65% of the yearly allocation to schools for operations, they get all of that before the end of the first term. So you notice we are putting the funds in place, giving the schools early enough during the summer so that whatever is necessary can be done. Just noting too that we do have a maintenance budget at the ministry which is separate. So we're doing maintenance on the school, so the more major things like your roof and so on. But the schools do get an amount in their own allocation that they can use for smaller things around the school plant. And so that's something that we're very happy about. Again, 55% increase on average. The ones at the bottom, including our primary schools and our special needs schools, they have the largest of the increase, and this increase has already been rolled out in our schools. There's also a very interesting element that we're putting in place for the first time. We were able to divert some more funds, and we have a pool of funds for schools who are in need of some more attention, especially to get the results we want. We usually call them the end-slip schools. But those schools are the schools that, for the most part, are challenged in relation to the students that they get. And what we have done is have that pool of funds available, and the schools can do a proposal. I want to do a literacy intervention in my school. It is going to cost this amount, and these are the outcomes that I expect. And they send that to the ministry, and we give them an additional allocation for that. We are not dictating from the ministry what to do, because we understand that we have leaders in our schools, and the dynamics of every school is different. And so we are allowing our schools to look at what they have in place and to then say to the ministry, I think an intervention of this sort can work for my school, and we approve it. And of course, at the end of the year, you send in a report that says that your outcomes have been met from that funding. So this is a very different way that we are doing things, and we expect to, there'll be teething pains in it, but we also expect it to move forward quite well. And the key thing is the accountability factor. So, you put in the proposal, you think it through, you have to think it through. And then you put in the proposal to the ministry, and you say what your targets are, and then we see how your targets are. What I said to a group of principals I was with yesterday, I was with my principals in Region 6, which is all our schools in St. Catherine. And I said to them, be creative. Try things, try different things. And I said, not everything is gonna work, but you know your school, try something, put it on paper, and know what your targets are and how you're gonna do it. At the end of the day, some of them won't work, but we would have learned something from it. We would have learned that that doesn't work. And so next year, you will tweak and you'll come with a different proposal based on what you learned from the year before. And so, as I said to them, be creative. Don't worry about it failing. We have to do these things for our children. We just have to try things. And so they were quite on board with that, and I look forward to seeing the great innovations that will come from our schools. And again, we are giving our schools more autonomy and giving the leadership autonomy to say, this is your school, you know what the problem is. And we've even gone further. So in terms of our PEP results, I would have told you, we do a publication. I'm going to show you one, since a lot of schools in here are from Kingston. This is our publication that we do. We have one for every region, and we have one for every single school. So every school that has done PEP gets a publication on their school. In it, it speaks to the profile of their students. It speaks to how their students did. It goes section by section of the exam. Your students were good in this area, not good in that area. And it gives tips. It says, this is the kind of approach you may need to take to teach this material to your children. Every single school gets it. So when we now say to those schools who may not be performing, like some of the schools we have here today in the room, we're backing it up by giving them data that they can use. They can go through these publications and think through, okay, this is where my children are falling down. I can therefore put in place this kind of intervention. And the ministry has some money, so I'm going to put that proposal to the ministry, and then the ministry will fund it. So it's all backed by data. And so I brought the region one here for anyone who wants to know. Minister Vaz, since you're here, I brought the Port Antonio one, the region 2 one, because that's one that we have to spend a lot of time on in terms of region 2. And I was going through yesterday the Montego Bay one, because this is for our region 4 that had most of the damage from the hurricane. And so in going through this, I was able to pick up how they were doing, which schools were doing well. I had it by school. So I could go through every single school and see how they did on maths, on language arts, and where generally the problems are by region. This is very much important. Data is very much at the heart of how we do policy, and it has to be central to how we move going forward. And so I wanted to give that update, and there's another one on the repairs to our schools. There are many schools that were damaged by Hurricane Melissa, and the repairs are not going as quickly as I would want, as I think any Jamaican would want. The reality is that we have a limited number of contractors, and the contractors have indicated they have issues with finding labor, and they've also indicated they have issues with sometimes supplies. And so we are still working with the contractors to move them along as quickly as we can. In the coming weeks, you're going to see me out there a lot. Senator Morgan will be out there. Minister Crawford will be out there working with the contractors, seeing what's happening on the ground so that we can intervene where is necessary. We will also be, in terms of this accountability factor, we'll also be publishing all the work that is out there, that has been put out to repair our schools. You will see the quantum, as in how much the contract is. You will see which contractor, was given the job, you will see the expected completion date and you will see comments. So we're going to put everything out there so you can see how it's going. Maybe you can call the contractor if you know them too and say, I saw that you got this amount of money for this school. What's going on? So you're all going to be a part of the accountability framework with me because we're going to be making that info publicly and we're going to update it twice each month. Some schools were to be finished over the summer, but there are some schools where we have to do fundamental changes. And so I have some that go up to 18 months of work, depending on the nature of the damage. And so you'll see in that update, it will be on the ministry's website. It will also be on the National Education Trust's website also, so you can track it. And whenever there is an update, we will notify the media that there is a new version of the update report. And so I shall stop there and take the questions from the media, from both of us. And then after that, I'm going to have Karen Chung from the American Friends of Jamaica tell you what's been happening on their side. There are a lot of partners who are helping us in rebuilding our schools. The American Friends of Jamaica has been one that's been working in our schools for a long time, and they're doing more work now, and so we want to thank them for that work. A lot of people from the Jamaican diaspora are contributing to this. We can't do it all in the Ministry of Education. We need partners, and so that's one partner that will tell you what they're doing. We're also going to showcase our top 10 PEP students who will tell you it was not an easy exam. In addition, I had parents complaining to me the day after PEP to say that the exam was too hard for children who went through a hurricane. So it's been very interesting to hear the varying views on it. I don't think there'll ever be one consistent view on it, but I have a great team that does exams and they do it very scientifically. And so we're very confident in the results that we have seen this year. And so Minister Vaz, you can come and we will take the questions and then we'll move towards the students who are here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Again, as per usual, for those who have their questions, please stand, state your name and the organization you're representing. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jamila Maitland, and I'm from TVJ. To Minister Vaz, is the ministry satisfied with the report from JPS about the All-Island blackout? And I recall you saying that there would be an independent review. Will that be done? And I'll just put in one more. A lot of trust is being placed in the demerit system. Why does the ministry believe that motorists, or it will affect some change when compliance seems to be the bigger challenge?
Sorry, I missed the first part. Say that again?
So the demerit system, a lot of trust is being placed in the system to bring about change to the road traffic situation that we're seeing. But when I ask, and the National Arena Special Court sitting, compliance seems to be the issue. The tickets are being written, but compliance is the problem.
That's correct. So that's exactly why we are discussing what we are discussing today, because basically there's no sanctions. So what you have is people that just basically collect tickets because they don't expect that there will be any action taken against them. So it's a mindset that needs to change, because the fact of the matter is that the demerit system, point system, is something that is implemented specifically to do exactly what you just said, to give people confidence that they are on safe roads and that if they misuse the roads, that there's penalties and sanctions. So, I mean, just to give you an idea as to how serious the situation is in terms of the amount of tickets, but in terms of the amount of tickets that individuals have. They had different sections at the arena. 1 ticket, 1 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 50, 50 and over. Now, just think about what I just said a while ago. That you're having a traffic day, and you're talking about people that go to a booth with 50 tickets and over. One person had 200 tickets. You probably get a ticket a day and just have them there. So it's important that we we find a way to deal with this situation, because we can't go forward with implementing the demerit system if it's not going to be sanctions that are held for those persons who disobey. So the fact of the matter is that we are going to work it out once and for all, and once that is worked out, the country can be assured and the motorists can be assured that if you get a ticket, there's going to be, some tickets don't have demerit points, but once there's demerit points involved in the violation, you are going to feel the brunt if you do not comply. So the police have been doing an excellent job, but they are restricted because there's nobody to help them to enforce, to make sure that people don't do what they are doing without sanctions. So, and the other question in terms of JPS, I've read the report. I'm not technically qualified to comment, but to say that based on what I said earlier in terms of the persons that they have used, we will have to get that analyzed and assessed independently as the ministry, as the OUR will do. So that you have assurance, because I'm dead set on the fact that this must never happen again. This is going to be the fix once and for all.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Congratulations to the PEP students, by the way.
Yes.
And I have some questions about those PEP students. I wanted to know who was the top PEP student, and what's the makeup of the 10 that performed the best? What's the makeup between primary and prep? That's one for the education minister. In your hat as information minister, I have two questions. One, it's related to your interview with GIS a couple of weeks ago regarding the TCN program. There was a mention that there was a conflation by the Gleaner that the 10,000 workers, or excuse me, TCNs that were supposed to come into Jamaica was really a skilled workers program, but it's a little bit confusing because I'm trying to understand whether the 10,000 TCNs were supposed to be skilled workers from America or skilled workers from another country. And if from America, what did America respond about 10,000 Americans coming to Jamaica? And if not Americans, why would America be the point person to discuss nationals from other countries? And in that regard, what did they respond to that request if it was from other countries that these 10,000 workers were to come from? Third question, again for you. The Joint Select Committee to set up revision of the ATI Act. That has been touted as something that we are supposed to be getting. I wanted an update as far as that is concerned. For Minister Vaz, your one question is, some years ago, we took over Venezuela's share in Petrojam. I wanted to know that funds, those funds that were set aside in escrow, given the Venezuela's earthquakes and need for cash at this point, I just wanted to confirm whether those funds have in fact been repatriated to Venezuela at this point.
I'll just answer mine since I only have one. The answer to that is no, and the reason for that is that it's in litigation. It's in the courts.
Can you go into the litigation? What is being litigated exactly?
The amount of settlement for the shares.
Thank you for my questions. The top student was Niraj Sahukar. Where is Niraj? Niraj is here. And he's from Creative Kids Learning Academy. Since you asked, I mean, we're going to do that after, but that is the Creative Kids Learning Academy. Creative Kids Learning Academy. And so he is number one in Jamaica in terms of overall. Yeah, overall. Yes, and so in terms of our top student from a primary school, which you all know already, it was Jasania Beadle, who is here with you. In terms of the general prep versus primary, just in terms of their performance generally, it was in the top 10 only. Oh, okay, so we have 9 who are from prep schools, and we have our 1 from Park Mountain Primary and Infant School who is here. And it fluctuates each year. Last year, I think it was a 6-4 ratio, primary to prep. So each year it's very different. So some years you have more primary schools, some years you have more prep schools. And I like to see the rivalry between the primary schools and the prep schools. And yesterday when I was with the principals, there was a lot of rivalry in St. Catherine, for example, because they felt that all of their top students were going to Kingston for high school. And so that was a very interesting conversation. Let me go to your next questions on TCNs. And let me start, maybe I can go through, can I do a chronology to give you some more details? In early January 2026, the United States government reached out to the Jamaican government asking us to participate in a third country nationals program. So that's early January. Negotiation discussions started. But prior to that, there had been a proposal that Minister Marks, when she was ambassador, had started to look at, which was whether or not there could be persons who may be in the United States that were skilled, that for whatever reason may want to be leaving the United States, and whether or not Jamaica could be an avenue for them. That had nothing to do with TCNs. That started in her time as ambassador and before she became minister. And so there was a conversation some months after the U.S. made their overtures to the Jamaican government. And as I said, the negotiations were taking place between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and also the Ministry of National Security. Minister Marks had a meeting, and in that meeting there were some with some U.S. Officials. In that meeting, she had mentioned her previous proposal that had been in place that she had done from she was an ambassador, really looking out for the interest of Jamaica. And she mentioned it because they were in the middle of the negotiations on the TCNs. There was at some point, some officials conflated the two things. There was never any discussion around 10,000 TCNs. That has never been a conversation point. Those officials who had that conversation and did the conflation did a diplomatic note to Jamaica. That diplomatic note noted the 10,000 proposal. The very next day, the government of Jamaica sent a diplomatic note saying that Jamaica is not negotiating anything around 10,000. We are only interested in the TCN negotiations that we had already started to discuss in January 2026. Subsequent to that, the negotiations continued on a regular TCN program. For the TCNs, what has been agreed is 25 TCNs every 2 weeks passing through Jamaica, and if more than 10 of them apply for asylum, the program stops and Jamaica cannot be used as a transit point for TCNs. TCNs, while they would be in Jamaica, their expenses would be covered by the International Organization for Migration, which is a UN body. They would treat with them on humanitarian grounds, making sure their human rights are protected, that we don't treat them as criminals and we treat them properly and appropriately. There has never been in the negotiations from the Jamaica side any discussion of 10,000 TCNs. And so the final agreement has 25 every 2 weeks. None of them can be criminals, as in have criminal antecedents, and they should speak English. That is what the agreement has. And as we've said, the operational details around where they would stay and all of those details have not been finalized. When those have been finalized, the Minister of National Security, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, or if I need to, I will also tell you what those operational details are. So there are no TCNs in Jamaica. There is a MOU that speaks to 25 every 2 weeks passing through Jamaica in transit to their home country. and the operational details have not been finalized, so no TCNs can come through Jamaica until the operational details are finalized. Our TCN agreement looks the same as every other CARICOM country, and you would have seen the CARICOM press release that was issued last week, where it spoke to the fact that all Caribbean, all of them were approached by the US in January to negotiate TCNs, and they're at varying stages, either completed or in the process of negotiating a TCN agreement. I hope that helps. Minister Vaz, you've been in cabinet. Is there anything I need to add?
No, I specifically asked about the 10,000 skilled workers. I wanted to know more about that. The MOU, if there was one, we don't know what came out of the discussions regarding Audrey Marks's discussion.
Okay, so let me answer that one. On the 10,
those persons were from abroad or from the US, and if they were from abroad or from the US, what was the US's response, and why were we discussing, if they were from abroad, why were we discussing that with the,
all right, I got your question, I got it. So the 10,000 proposal from Minister Marks has not moved from a proposal that she had as ambassador. The Jamaican government has not been in negotiations with the US on that 10,000 program. The Cabinet of Jamaica, and this is a post-cabinet briefing, has not approved negotiations around that 10,000 skilled worker program. So what we are doing is, and you would have seen this, the Minister of Health has been to Ghana, he's been to Ghana, he's been to Philippines, he's been to a few other countries, trying to get specialized nurses and specialized doctors for Jamaica, given our shortage of specialized health practitioners. And so that is a part of our skilled worker program. We would not be discussing Ghana or Philippines with the US. So I think Minister Marks's proposal for 10,000 was looking at the US. But as I said, it was for Americans, not Americans, but persons in America, persons in America. And so the reality is that Cabinet has not approved this program. And so the day after it was conflated, the US government was informed that Jamaica is only at this time interested in negotiating a regular TCN agreement, and we have done so, and it is 25 persons. So that proposal has not moved any further in terms of discussions. All right, your turn.
well, my last question was about the Joint Select Committee.
Oh, JSC, okay. So the Joint Select Committee is a commitment that has been made by the administration. One of the things I find, and this is me speaking personally as minister, I find that a Joint Select Committee moves along better when it is reacting to a piece of legislation. So there were some discussions that had been done previously in terms of stakeholders around the ATI, and those have been documented. So for me, the key way forward is for us to take those recommendations, have a new draft legislation, and then we have a Joint Select Committee, because usually the Joint Select Committees can go all over the place. It's always good when you have a piece of legislation, you're saying, I agree with this element, let's change that element. And so what we're doing is looking at those consultations that had already been done extensively and putting those recommendations into a draft piece of legislation, and then we do the Joint Select Committee on that basis. So I'm looking to, as quickly as we can, as soon as we get finished with that process, the Joint Select Committee will be named and we will start meeting. That's a commitment that has been made, and I am still committed to that.
Do you have a timeline?
I don't have one because, I don't do the legal work, but for me, I would love it to be started by the end of the year, but it's really dependent on me getting the legislation. And I'll keep you updated on it.
Good morning. Kelisha Williams, Television Jamaica. I have a few questions in regards to education.
Sure.
Dr. Dixon. So the first one is in regards to what was said by your opposition counterpart, concerns that he's questioning the reliability of the PEP's data. Just to paraphrase here, he's saying that it cannot be accurate to say there is an improvement this year when there was a change to the format in light of the hurricane? So your response to that. And two, at the last press conference, we were promised a breakdown of the performance of students in hurricane-hit areas. At the time, I think what was said was there was no change. So can I get an update on that as well? And finally, in regards to the funding, additional funding for public schools, I've been seeing lots of complaints from parents in regards to the school fees for some of these schools. I know you said you're not really you're not really you're not really dictating how the money should be spent, but is the MOE hoping that this additional allocation will help to reduce the burden placed on parents, possibly a reduction in the school fees, based on what we're seeing? And while this increase is also welcomed by administrators, there have been complaints from them as well on the formula for school funding. So is this the new process going forward? Yeah, thank you. Those are the questions.
Thank you. And so I'll start, hopefully I remember all of them. I'll start with the last one on the funding. Just to note that this was done in consultation with the principals. So it's not, the ministry doesn't just wake up and say, let me do a new funding model. We actually meet with the association and actually come up with this. The key thing was we wanted to have an increase across the board, but we also wanted to make sure it went to those that needed it the most. And I think we have achieved that. Obviously, as we go along, we're always meeting. We meet with the different associations. There's so many associations in education. Every day I learn of a new one. We meet with them. We discuss these things. This was not taken out of a hat. And so if we need to make any tweaks going forward, we will do it. In relation to school fees, the government's policy is very clear. No child should be excluded from school if they are not able to pay the fees. That is very clear from the Ministry of Education. That's the government's policy. Some schools do charge fees, but they have no right to deny any child access to an education. We have given some grants for student welfare. We've given other grants to the schools. We expect them to use that for students who do not or not able to afford it. Where schools have additional concerns, you can come to the ministry. We have had schools that have said, 90% of my students are on PATH. I need a little bit more support on nutrition. And the ministry works and tries to give that support. So we have a system where there are grants for schools, but we understand the dynamic of what we're working in, and that there may be other realities at play. And so we urge our principals to reach out to the regional teams. If you're not getting anywhere, reach out to the central ministry. We will support you. At the end of the day, it's all about all our children doing well. And we have to work together towards that within the resources that we do have. There was one more. Which one did I leave out?
That's in regards to what was said by
I
Damien
have your
Crawford.
booklet. I'm going to give you your Region 4 booklet that outlines how Region 4 did and how it compares over time, and then also, and I can give you all the other regions, but you are very interested in the area where the hurricane damage, which is this region. I have it here for you, so you're going to get it.
And the response to the opposition's
And the comparison,
comment
no, the
as well.
comparison is in here. On that, I think I've said it. There is definite fidelity to the methodology that has been used. We use external consultants to ensure that we are able to look at proficiency across years. And the questions are basically the same across years. There was no dumbing down of the exam, and I don't know. If you want to say, okay, come on up. A principal is here, and she wants to tell you. Come to the microphone. It's good when a principal can respond. I don't have to respond to everything.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Haiti K. Holmes, principal of Creative Kids Learning Academy. The exam, by no means, was watered down this year. The standard was in keeping with what I've seen over the years. In addition, I just wanted to say a little bit about my thoughts on the PEP exam. I've been in the classroom, so even though I'm the principal, I teach at the grade 6 level. And I've been in the classroom for over 25 years, and the difference that PEP has made is absolutely astonishing. You see students who are now critical thinkers. You see students who are problem solvers. They're able to associate real-life situations. So, and not only does PEP happen at grade 6, it happens from early on. So it's accountability for parents, for teachers. Parents now become interested in their child or children's education because at grade 4 it matters now. So what you find is that you have parents who are helping their students. You have teachers who are trying to ensure that they're learning. So it doesn't just happen at grade 6. In addition, before, when it was just math and language, even in GSAT and social studies and science, it's a lot of swatting. Right now, it's a lot of critical thinking. For science, you have to do the experiments. The questions are based on the experiments. For social studies, it has various topics, but that the students need to associate real life with government. A lot of government is in it for social studies for grade 6. And I'm sure that the high school must see an uptick in the level in which these students can reason and think when they get to grade 7. In my opinion, PEP is one of the best tools that have been implemented in the prep and primary schools.
Thank you. And I did not solicit that. I don't know if Park Mountain, would you want to say something in relation to PEP? You're our top primary principal, and you're hearing that from our number one principal. I mean, she has 3. The top 3 students it's 4. Yeah, you have 4, but 1 is missing today. But she has 4 in the top 10. So she's got to answer. I'm going to ask I'm putting you on the spot. I'm so sorry. But the principals, it's good to hear from the principals.
I do agree with the principal just now. The exam, really top of the line. And the exam was really something that called on our students to think at a very deep level. I am really a fan of the PEP exam because it called on the teacher, the parents, all stakeholders to just do more. And it was really, really an exam that we're proud to know that our students from Park Mountain Primary came out on top.
Thank you. So yes, and when I did the prep briefing, you'd have seen me show questions that our students have to go through. And it's not easy. Many parents tell me they can't do the questions that our PEP students are doing. And that's intentional. We're creating our students for a new world where critical thinking is even more important. But what it means is that there may be struggles because you have some parents who may not be able to help their children in the way that others can. And it takes a different approach to teaching. And that's why we're putting more money at the base, right? Because we understand that if we get them doing well, if we get them reading and numerate and literate before they get into high school, it's a completely different ball game for Jamaica. And that's what we're working towards. And we definitely did not dumb down the exam. The parents told me it was still too hard. All right, next question. It looks like you have questions for Minister Vaz.
I do. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News. Minister Vaz. 2 questions. 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
All right, so question number 1 would be, what is your reaction to how the implementation of the 2 tranches of the fare increase have taken place?
The what?
The implementation of the 2 tranches of the most recent fare increase. What's your reaction to it?
Yeah, so far, there have been reports to myself and the ministry and to Transport Authority in terms of price gouging, which is always expected, but it has not been at the level that I expected. So I would say that all in all, I think that there's been a level of responsibility by the public passenger operators, especially in light of some of them even agreeing to hold off on the first implementation of the first amount, and put the whole thing in the second month, which obviously would be a cost to them in terms of revenue, but obviously the thought about their passengers, the commuters, And I think that it has been overall, it has gone down very well, especially in light of the fact that they waited so long to get their increase and they were able to still manage it. But we are managing. The Transport Authority, as you see, has taken action in relation to price gouging, and we get reports every day, and we investigate all the reports. But all in all, very satisfied.
Thank you. Second question would be, would you be okay with the Office of Utilities Regulation being the body responsible for setting public passenger fares? Because it appears as though...
That has been a call by some taxi associations and the opposition spokesperson. The truth be told, that I wouldn't have any issue with it, and it's something that we are actually looking at now in terms of how to make sure that we have a transparent, regular review for fare increases for public transportation operators.
All right, thank you. My last question for Minister Morris Dixon. Between both the PEP presser and even the testimonials from the principals just a while ago in terms of how the primary exit profile has improved the quality of students leaving primary school, do you think it would make sense to have a secondary exit profile?
Well, the secondary exit profile right now is CXC, right? The CSEC. But I get where you're going, and we have been in dialogue with CXC to look at their exams, because we need to make sure that the exams are meeting what's needed in terms of critical thinking and so on. And so we're a part of that process of relooking CXC and giving suggestions in terms of how it can change and flex. And we are very much willing to work with CXC to take it over if necessary. We have the team here. We have a good team here. Rasheen, who's next? Oh, we didn't say that Rasheen, who is the one who takes care of all of our questioning at these press briefings, she went to Park Mountain Primary School. All right.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Crystal Williams. I'm from CVM News, and I have two questions for Minister Vaz. So the first question about the rural bus system, who were the neutral independent bodies that audited the system and what were their findings? And secondly, if there are any external contracts or contributions that have not yet been publicly disclosed?
Oh, so the second one?
If there are any external contributions or contracts in related to the system that can assist that have not yet been disclosed to the public?
No, absolutely not. That's totally government funded. And obviously, the funding for the purchase of the buses and all of the services would have been in last year's budget. And of course, right now, obviously, March 31st would have been the end of the first of the financial year. So as we speak, now we are seeking support from the Ministry of Finance to continue to buy buses and also to continue the operational side of the 110 buses. And the other question, the first one was?
Who were the persons who audited the system and what were their findings?
So the JUTC would have been the one who would have given the data that I gave a while ago. But don't forget that there is a contract in place for the provision of the technological services, and that data would come from the contractor in terms of the information on the buses, and of course the Ministry of Education on the other side in terms of the performance of the students, etc. But again, it's all internal. Obviously, the agencies of government have the right to audit at any time. So that's to answer your question.
I have a quick follow-up to one of my questions for you, Minister Dixon. In regards to the funding that will be allocated, additional funding to schools, I know I may have missed it, but did you say the figure, I know you give the percentage, and will it be one set amount to each school, or will there be some form of equity in terms of the schools that need it the most?
No, so it's a big spreadsheet. It's actually a long presentation. At some point I'll do the long presentation, but it is different depending on the school. So it takes into account how many students you have, how many students are on path in your school. And so you remember that these operational grants are for the admin, getting printers, that kind of stuff. If you want to do some additional work around the school, if you want to do some new initiatives, because the ministry would pay the teachers, pays all utilities directly, so they don't have to pay utilities from this. We also pay for the big maintenance, particular work, and so we can share the spreadsheet. I mean, some schools used to get, I saw one school that would get 800,000 per year because it's a small school, moved to $3 million. So it's significant increases, especially at the base, but it differs depending on the school, the number of students that are there. Total? 755 million extra. Yeah. All right. I think this is our last question for this segment. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Douglas Ajir.
They're not hearing you. Talking to the mic.
Good morning. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Douglas Najir, a student of Kingston College, and I also serve as Regions 1 Assistant Vice President and Treasurer of the National Secondary Students Council. This question is for you, Minister Vaz. As a youth leader, I know that students can play a very important role in promoting road safety. How does the Ministry of Energy, Telecommunications, and Transport intend to partner with schools and youth organizations to educate young people and encourage safer road use?
How are you going to work with young people to encourage safer road use? Because, you want to...
Sure. Excellent.
Good question. Thank you.
Excellent question. Excellent last question. So we do have a public education campaign that we're launching. It's going through the processes for procurement, and that will be a national road safety education and public relation campaign. That's going to be funded from the ministry's 5% of ticket fines. So we get 5% for the Ministry of Transport of every month of the total amount of ticket fines. So we're going to use that. And also that will include, obviously, going into the schools and not only just billboards and ads and social media. It will be interactions with exactly the suggestion you made with schools and of course, youth community groups and that sort of thing. So very good question. And yes, it is and it has to be a part of the overall picture.
Thank you very much. Always good to have our young people here asking questions of the ministers. And remember, you're always welcome to come. We're going to hear quickly from Karen Chung, who is the Executive Director of the American Friends of Jamaica, and they're doing a lot of work across our schools to help to support in the rebuilding of our schools. And she's going to tell you very quickly what she's doing through the help of a lot of people in the diaspora also.
Good morning, everyone. It's a delight to be here with you this morning. Minister Morris Dixon, Minister Vaz, other ministry and agency leaders, the media, students, principals, friends, good morning. The American Friends of Jamaica is a nonprofit organization in the U.S., funding programs in Jamaica for over 43 years. Some of you here are familiar with the work of the AFJ because you have been beneficiaries of our annual grants in education over the years. So it's a pleasure to see some of you here this morning. Since Hurricane Melissa, the AFJ has focused on helping schools move from emergency response to long-term recovery. We've been working with trusted partners, GEM, Global Empowerment Mission, Food for the Poor, ARC, and a few other partners on the ground, as well as the Ministry of Education, of course. AFJ has supported efforts to restore safe learning environments so students can return to learning as quickly as possible. Now, I was really pleased to hear the common thread between Minister Morris Dixon and Minister Vaz. They spoke about transparency and accountability quite a lot. For us at the American Friends of Jamaica, transparency and accountability is optimal. We have a responsibility to our donors who direct funds to the American Friends of Jamaica for these specific causes. So it's important that we work with partners we collaborate with the ministries, with the government agencies to ensure we get the work done. Our focus has been, and another thing I was pleased to hear is the road mapping Minister Morris Dixon shared about support for the schools affected by Hurricane Melissa and schools more widely. The goal of the American Friends of Jamaica is to support the work of the ministry in schools by enhancing the plan the Ministry of Education has for schools. By this we mean installing solar systems, installing smart technology in schools, whiteboards, laptops for students, improving access to water, because we recognize that the Ministry of Education has a plan, has contractors, as you heard Minister Morris Dixon mention, to help rebuild schools, get roofs back on, etc. So the goal of the American Friends of Jamaica is to stand with the ministry to ensure schools are enhanced, they are able to reopen safely, and we are able to support the continuity of education in the communities affected by Hurricane Melissa. We know that, I believe, more than 700 primary schools sustained damage following Hurricane Melissa. Now, we recognize as well it's a long road. It feels like we've gone back to life as usual in some parts of Jamaica, but the fact is there are many communities still struggling. The American Friends of Jamaica took a decision earlier this year in an effort to get the students back in learning environments to install temporary classrooms at some of the schools across the areas affected by the hurricane. This is not intended to be a permanent fix. We know it's not sustainable, and we are eagerly wanting to get to a plan where we are working with the Ministry of Education to work on more sustainable, long-lasting support and not these temporary classrooms. We realize that they're useful, they've been very helpful for some of the schools to get the children back, but we certainly want to get to more sustainable, more long-lasting support. AFJ has been much more about rebuilding buildings. It's about restoring safe spaces so that our children can get back to learning. We're all very terrified when we think about children not being in classrooms for weeks, months on end. So we want to ensure we help communities recover, and we want to ensure they recover with resilience, and because we know education is the passport to the future of all of you here. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, you know, you've been a partner for a long time in many areas in education. And so we want to thank you publicly for that work. And I know they do a lot of fundraising. A lot of Jamaicans in the diaspora provide a lot of funding to AFJ, and it's that money that they're using. And so I want to thank all the donors who contribute to AFJ for what they're doing. Our children are able to move into better spaces after the hurricane because of that tremendous work. And you would have heard another diaspora group was here before. Golden Crust team was here, and they spoke about what they're doing. There's so many diaspora teams that are doing work, and we want to thank them for all their support. Now I need to just introduce some young people to you, the stars of this morning as we close out. And I want them to come up here one at a time. We're just going to do a picture, and we have some stuff to do after. But I definitely need to make sure that I get you in the right order, or else it's going to be an issue. So let me make sure that I have the right order so that I am not going to get myself into any trouble this morning. One sec. All right, I think this one, the PS's one is correct. just in the wrong name order. So hopefully I'll get it right. All right. So in terms of PEP, the number one student in Jamaica with the highest score for anyone, boy or girl, is Niraj Sahukar. Sorry, Niraj. Come on up here, Niraj. You're going to come right here. Congratulations, Niraj. Come right in front so they can see you. If you go, you want to make a speech? That's fine if you wanted to. And Niraj is from the Creative Kids Learning Academy, and he is going to Campion College. And then number two is, no, stay up here, don't move, Zuri Cousins, who is from Creative Kids Learning Academy, and she's going to Campion College too. You know, we have other schools, right? And then we have Zia Nunez, who is also from Creative Kids Learning Academy, who is our third student. And she's going to, I wonder where, Campion College. All right, and now we go to number 4, Jacob Salazar from Reach Academy. And he's going to Campion College. And then we have Yuri Van Riel, who is from Montego Bay Preparatory School. And he is going to Wolmer's Boys School. No, not wrong one, Campion College. And then we have Darian Hoodlin, who is absent. Is he absent or he's here? Oh, he came on his crutches. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. Darian is from my old school, St. Peter and Paul Preparatory School. And he's going to Wilmer's Boys School, right? All right. And then we have Kyle Stewart, who is from Arden Preparatory and Extension High, who is going to Campion College. And then we have Dejan Williams from Harrison's Preparatory School, who is going to Campion College. We also have Jasania Beadle from Park Mountain Primary and Infant School, who is going to Hampton School. And we have rounding out the top 10, Jaden Choi from Creative Kids Learning Academy, who is going to Campion College. And he's absent today. So these are 9 of your top 10 students who have done tremendously well in a very difficult examination. And we want to congratulate all of you. Just know that we expect big things of you. You are the best that our country has. You are the leading ones, and we expect great things from you. And so may God bless every single one of them. May God bless their teachers. Thank you, teachers. Thank you, principals. Thank you, parents, for all that you've done. And there'll be more celebrations. We have the government scholarship program. There are many other children that will be celebrated at that. But this morning I wanted Jamaica to see as many of the top 10. And you look out for the award ceremony where there's going to be even more celebration of our children. So congratulations all. We're going to do some pictures after, but this is the best way to close out a post-cabinet press briefing. Our children are doing well. Our schools are working very hard. Our parents are working. Parents, it's important that you help our children. They need you. They need your support. And especially as they go to high school. I always tell the parents, they need you more than ever now as they go through their teenage years. It's not over. And so with my wonderful top 10, 9 of my top 10 students, I thank you all for being here for another post-cabinet press briefing. And as always, may God bless all these children, and may God bless Jamaica, land we love. Thank you all.